the Holy Land, the origin of religion, and the nation of war. It is Israel. Israel is the only Jewish nation in the old world, and it did not exist until 1948. But many people associate Israel with its ongoing conflict with Palestine, a violent dispute over land, political control, and resources. To understand why, we have to look back a few thousand years. Both Jews and Muslims have strong religion and cultural ties to the region. Dating back about 4,000 years to Abraham, considered the father of the two religions. According to Old Testament, God told Abraham and his people to settle in a land called Canaan, which is in the approximately modern-day Israel. In 1000 BCE, King Saul established Israelite monarchy, which continued under King David and his son Solomon, who built the first Jewish temple in Jerusalem. This became a legacy and part of the Jewish claim to the land of Israel. The land will continue to be conquered and ruled by various groups including Persians, Greeks, Romans, Arabs, Egyptians, Fatimids, Seljuks, Crusaders, Mamluks, and Ottomans. They called the region Palestine, which would become home to many considered sacred by Jews, Muslims, and Christians alike. During this transition, Jews were forced to flee the area, creating a diaspora, a dispersion of people from their homeland. But in Europe, the Jewish diaspora also faced oppression and persecution. Soon in the 1880s, many Jews started immigrating back to their promised land in the Ottoman-controlled Palestine. By 1914, there were more than 75,000 Jews in the area. After World War I, Great Britain took control of modern-day Israel, Palestine, and Jordan from the Ottomans. In 1922, the League of Nations approved a British declaration that promised a national home for Jewish people in Palestine. In 1939, World War II broke out. More than 6 million Jews were murdered in the Holocaust, with millions more displaced. In 1947, after the war was over, the United Nations decided to partition Palestine into two countries, the Jewish state of Israel and the Arab state of the Palestine. Israel agreed to the partition and borders were drawn for the two states, but many Arab residents thought the partition unfairly favored the Jewish population. Violence soon broke out. On May 14, 1948, the State of Israel was established, with David Ben-Gurion as the Prime Minister. Almost immediately, the Arab League, a group of surrounding Arab countries, rejected the partition and attacked. Israel fought back, and after more than 9 months of the conflict, its armed forces occupied much of the land designated to become the Arab state of the Palestinians. Tensions between Jews and Arab Muslims in the region would continue for decades. In 1964, the Palestine Liberation Organization was formed to consolidate power of small Palestinian groups. In 1967 Six-Day War, Israel defeated the armies of Egypt, Syria, and Jordan, gaining control of significant territory. As this continued, attempted peace talks and failed proposals went on, and the history gained records. In 2006, a militant Islamic group, Hamas, won the Palestinian legislative elections. Many countries consider Hamas as a terrorist group because of their methods, such as carrying out suicide bombings and calling for the destruction of Israel. Hamas and Israel continue to clash violently until today. The conflict continues as the Israelis dominate settlements in West Bank. So what is the main cause of conflict? Both Israelis and Palestinians consider Jerusalem as their capital. Israelis want the united and undivided Jerusalem their capital, while Palestinians want to divide the city and make East Jerusalem the capital of the future Palestinian state. Though there are other reasons for the conflict, like Jerusalem being central to peace process, violence in the city, relocation of embassies to Jerusalem, but the main reason is that Jerusalem being the capital and the holy city of both parties. In recent days, news hit headlines with Israeli-Palestinian war being the first.
Overseas now to the crisis in the Middle East. Israelis and Palestinians on a path to all-out war, escalating attacks leaving dozens dead. Matt Gutman is on the ground.
And United Nations and United States of America being afraid since the war may escalate to high magnitude. The Hamas group fire rockets while Israeli militant counter-strike them, leaving damages and deaths of civilians in both Palestine and Israeli soils. The prone regions experiencing the attack being Gaza Strip and Tel Aviv. For this, everyone leaves behind an exclamation mark and pose a difficult question that, when will the conflict end and what will be the best solution? And that is to be answered as time goes by. Documentary by Wycliffe Oko from Nairobi, Kenya.